What's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I just saw the Lakers IG and Flea got me fired up, man. Can you hear us? That's what we saying. I feel like the Lakers can because they've been playing better overall in terms of the comeback. Obviously, we had that horrible 2-10 record to start the season, and we've asked for changes and they've made them. But this is the first home game we've had in the playoffs in about 2 years. Obviously, when we won the championship in the bubble, clearly it was that, so we couldn't really be there. But this is one of those games where we're back in action. It's home court, and I'm ready. We're about an hour away from tip off, and the Los Angeles Lakers are playing the Memphis Grizzlies. And my whole point of view today, if you watch my earlier video, was just to address just about pretty much the disrespect is really what I was considering. But more so it's about not feeding into it, using this bulletin board material, but not allowing it to get us down and have us thinking about anything other than what we're supposed to do as a collective. I'm excited about what I'm going to see. Hopefully, what will be changes and adjustments, and something that allow us to be a bit more aggressive. We need to definitely be a bit more forceful and play with a lot of pride tonight, play with a lot of energy. That's what I'm hopeful to see. We've had some days off, some rest, some time to think, some time to recalibrate. Guys can kind of heal up a little bit. Hopefully guys are feeling better. For anybody who was banged up, because this is the playoffs, and we've been afforded a luxury of a couple of days off between games, and that's not going to be as it is going forward. The games are going to get closer and closer, so we need to be ready for that. I'm hopeful that, for our sake, Ja will continue to sit, because even though they're just as good as a team without him, we don't want him adding to what it is that they do. We would rather deal without him and see how that goes. So I haven't heard anything as of yet. He's still questionable last I checked, so we'll know soon for sure. And this is a big moment, LA. Big moment. The Clippers just lost their game in the same building, and we don't want to follow in their footsteps in that way. We understand that we're afforded good health right now, so we need to take advantage of everybody available to us. And that's really the bottom line. I don't want to see just a few players playing, especially if guys are cold. We have a full team. I see no reason for us not to explore many options that can help us win this series. At the end of the day, the Memphis Grizzlies are short-handed. They're not a team that is with their full spectrum of players at the moment. And so because of it, we have got to attack them where it matters. Get them in foul trouble. Get them in positions to field us. We got to out-rebound them. We got to cut our turnovers down. Hit our free throw. And for goodness sakes, get the ball into situations that are easy for us to score. I know that they're running some intricate defense, but it's so important for us to consider what easier buckets and closer baskets and second chance opportunities with size can do for us. So that's what I'm hopeful to see. Just it's a question mark for me in terms of the adjustments. Obviously, it is for everybody. So we know what we want to see, but we're also kind of poised to see some more of the same, because that's just kind of how it goes around here, unfortunately. But this is the playoffs, and adjustments will be made against you. So if you don't react to those, there will be traps set up for us to fail. So that's really what it is. I'm just curious to see who's going to step up tonight, who's going to be the main characters tonight, especially for the Memphis Grizzlies. Not so much us, but who's going to be coming at us. Is Tillman going to have a repeat performance? I doubt it. Is this going to be a Luke Kennard day? Is this a big Terrence Jones day? I mean, Trey, I can't forget, whatever Jones, the point guard that they have over there. Is this going to be a big day for him? Is this going to be a big day for, Desmond Bane? Does Brooks hit shots? Are they heavy turnover, heavy bricks today since they're on the road? That would be interesting if they turn the ball over a lot. But it's not something that they do very often. So I'd like to see us try to force them into those situations. So I have more question marks than I have really answers. Is Beasley going to play? This morning, I was just sitting up, kind of thinking about some of the things that was on my mind in regards to this game, and I just feel like at any given moment, Malik Beasley can have a hot game, and based on what we've seen, he's due. It's usually every 9 games he has a game where he just blows it wide open, hits about 4 or 5 threes or more, and the score is just lopsided. I do think if we continue to run him the way that we have been running him, eventually we may have another game like that. So I'm not saying I'm poised to see that be today. I don't want us to hunt that out at all. Really, I'd prefer us not to use him so much. But you guys know how I feel about that. At the end of the day, he's due. And I wouldn't be terribly surprised if tonight is that game. Wouldn't be terribly surprised at all. But, in going to him, we just got to use him in lineups that make sense. Please, please, please. I prefer this is the lineup I want to see Malik Beasley in. This is something I can provide. If I'm going to put Malik Beasley on the floor, I want him next to a tall ball handler. If it isn't Austin Reeves, let it be LeBron James as the ball handler on the floor when he's on the floor. Everybody else needs to be defensive and pretty much big. So that's Rui Hachimura, Anthony Davis, probably not Vanderbilt, to be honest with you, because Vanderbilt creates such a problem offensively that I don't want any natural holes on the floor while Beasley's out there. So no Vanderbilt while Beasley's out there. But maybe like Bamba, since we don't use him, I would love for Bamba to get some of those second rotation minutes or third rotation minutes. So like Bamba, Rui Hachimura, LeBron James, Austin Reeves, Malik Beasley. Something like that, man. Because you put him next to Dennis Schroeder, put him next to Lonnie Walker, you're doubling down on small. You put him in any rotation with Vanderbilt, chances are his weaknesses plus Vanderbilt's weaknesses leave you with holes. And these are things that we often find ourselves doing. Wacky stuff that doesn't necessarily work with Beasley on the floor. So kind of cover up Beasley's holes by putting him on the floor with players he can support. Troy Brown would be great, especially if he's having a good Troy Brown game. Have him in that lineup. Austin in that lineup, Malik in the lineup, Rui, Winyan, AD, Bamba, whoever that would be at the 5. One of those 3. That's the kind of lineup I see him working in. That way you're not doubling down on small or doubling down on one-way talent. You only need one-way player on the floor at a time. That's key to it. Vanderbilt and Beasley should never be on the floor at the same time because they're both one-way. It's another reason why I want Vanderbilt kind of out of the starting lineup, because if I can't count on him to get buckets, I'd like to get off the early starts. And sometimes he can contribute to them early starts quite a bit. But other times he's just, a source of broken plays and empty possessions. And so these are the things I want to see us do. If we're going to use players like that, you got to find lineups that work for Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt needs to be surrounded with players. I haven't given this as much thought as I've given the BC aspect of it. But if Vanderbilt's going to be in any lineup at all, I want it to be specifically intent on him being defensive. The lineup itself shouldn't even be looking to score. Like, that's how I'm looking at that. The whole lineup should be looking to defend for the most part. If I have an ideal lineup with him in it, it's AD. It's my best defensive players and him with him. You know what I mean? That's kind of how that goes. And we're just going to look for defense and transition for our offense. You know what I mean? Because if you have him in these offensive rotations, if you're intent to score 120 points and he's going to be on the floor 35 minutes, that's not going to happen. That's what I've come to understand. That's not going to happen unless his 3 balls starts to fall, or for some reason he's getting all these wildly flying around 50-50 balls that lead to buckets. He's not going to score enough with him on the floor. He's meant to keep the other team from scoring, not necessarily cater to yours. This is why I want us to study how he was used in Utah earlier in the season, because they drop 128 points. He still get his points and numbers. That was curious to me. How the hell they do that? You know what I mean? Because that's one of the highest scoring teams in the league, and they were using him regularly on top of that. So these are the type of things that I think kind of give us hints as to how best to use Vanderbilt. But, man, I don't like him in the starting lineup right now. I don't like the fact that I can't count on him for any scoring. Especially when Hachimura's defense has gotten so much better. So these are things I'm thinking about before the game, man. I don't know what coach has on his mind. I would not mind getting away from D'Angelo Russell right now. I told you guys I want Dennis Schroeder to kind of take on some more responsibility. Austin Reeves as well, put the ball in his hands a bit more. Until D'Lo's 100% or until he shows us he has his energy back, that finesse game stuff, I'm not going to live and die with D'Lo struggles. I'm not. Just like Timberwolves didn't last year, I ain't. Because I remember they benched him. I had forgotten about that when we picked him up, but they benched him in the playoffs last year because he was so awful. And so if this is just going to be a thing where he's only a regular season guy in the playoffs, he's just going to, kind of Paul George it, we can sit him. I have no problem with that. Because what I think is, if I know you're not going to give me nothing, then I just got to adjust my mind to you being a role player, and I'll use you as such. I'll put you in the little 22 minutes that you'll be able to give me what you would otherwise give me, and then just go with somebody else with those minutes, because I can do it. I got the team to do it. I got the roster. I don't have, Dennis Schroeder can play that point guard role, Austin Reeves, LeBron James. D'Lo didn't have to play, and we should still be able to win. So for me, it's like I don't need to lean on D'Lo when he's struggling. If he's out here lighting it up and doing his smooth game thing, it's cool. But if he's just not a guy for this series, if this series is too dependent upon certain types of strength and power at the rim, then we just bench him and get him ready for the next series. He'll be healthy for the Sacramento Kings series. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. I don't have any problem removing a piece that ain't being himself in the series. Unless that piece is Anthony Davis, he just has to be better. Everybody else, you give me what you need to give me, or you can be replaced on this roster. It is what it is, man. That's what it is. So we have one of the deepest teams, if not the deepest team in the Western Conference, and there should be no reason why we struggle with anybody for too long. Nobody. So that's what I think there. We're trying to win as a team. Nobody should have to drag us down with their ineptitude. Our coach is at the top of that list. So please, my friend, please don't give us no reason to be cussing at the end of this game, man. Digging us big old holes. We know you're prone to do that, so the idea is to try to brace ourselves for the ultimate comeback that we're going to have to force ourselves to face when this team does that. And that's a good portion of the time. Dumbing it down to the level of our opponent, letting people shoot open shots and stuff like that. Don't disrespect the basketball gods in Game 3. You do not want to find yourself down 2-1 because any one game can turn the tides. You do not want to find yourself in any situation where you have your back against the wall. Not if you can help it. And that may happen throughout the course of the playoffs, but it certainly shouldn't happen in the playoffs against Memphis in the first round. Not at this point. No, not with 2 games in our house upcoming right here. So that's what I have to say, man. I want to see our team play with pride. It can't just be a few guys. It got to be the whole team. Everybody got to want to beat Memphis tonight. Starting with the fans all the way down to the players. Everybody got to be intent in that arena on contributing to the success of this team. And so that's where my head is, man. I want to see fired up fans. That's just as important to me. We got a home game at LA, national game, obviously. We got to give ourselves a good name, man. We got a lot of teams, got big fan bases. None of them are bigger than us. You come to our home games, and sometimes it's like, hey, let me tell you, we got like 4 or 5 million Laker fans all over the world. Some of them people would fill that arena up and have it blasting like crazy. So we need the ones who are showing up, who are paying the big money to represent us right, man. We the biggest fan base, so we should be the loudest, no question about it. All these teams that fill up, the outside of the building and stuff like that, we can fill that up 20 times over if they would allow us to do it again, just like they did in the first couple of years when Staples Center was around. Most people would not know that or remember that, but I do. They used to let people stand outside and watch the game on the Jumbotron, and we would fill that up like Toronto does, like Milwaukee does, like Sacramento does. We fill that up, man. You see nothing but people. They just got rid of that because of how we act out here sometimes. So, yeah, man, that's what I'm trying to express to people. We LA fans are not what you see at Staples Center or Crypto.com when they are kind of, no. Laker Nation would roar like crazy 10 times louder than any other fan base if you could hear all of us. So that's what's the most important thing for people to understand. Then we want to see our team win. We represent the greatness and championships and all kinds of legacy talent that have worn this uniform. So we want to see our superstars representing that way today. You know what I mean? I want Anthony Davis to have that in his heart and his mind when he puts on that uniform today. The effort that he gives us represents not only himself, but everybody who's put on a uniform that were Hall of Famers and of his cachet. Did they come out with lacking in heart? Did they come out lacking in effort? Did they come out lacking in what it is that they needed to be their very best selves on a given night? Not in the playoffs. Not if they wanted to be respected. And so I think Anthony Davis wants a lot of respect. He wants his number up in the rafters, but that comes with a lot of effort after winning a championship. A lot of effort after winning the championship. Most of those dudes up there, if not all of them, contributed to multiple finals appearances, success, opportunities that came with not only having talent, but displaying effort within that talent and displaying humility and displaying a certain level of pride within that. And so as we have this home playoff game, it's important to me that everybody who represents this thing have that in mind for these playoffs. You know what I mean? We're here to win. We're not here to go into back and forth with guys who are here to get in our head and none of that stupid stuff. We've seen you a million times, and we're not moved by anything other than the idea of beating you. And that's it. And so that's what I say to everybody in Memphis. They're jumping around, but they're new here. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, they don't know what they're doing. That's why they walk around the way that they are and jump around the way that they do, because they don't know the parades are not supposed to be happening unless you've won something. So it is what it is, man. We're going to bring it to them, and we're going to help them understand that they're very, very far away from understanding what a parade should be about. You know what I mean? Very far away from that. So that's what it is, man. That's what I got to say. Respect to Tillman for having this big game. I'm pretty sure that respect will be in the form of us bringing better defense against him tonight. And as far as everything else, it's all up to the Los Angeles Lakers, man. It's up to them to show up and show out. Make sure that this team feels us. Make sure that we're not just talking about what we need to do in terms of humbling people, but that we're actually showing it in forms of playing good basketball and making them feel us. And utilizing everybody we have and seeing the correlation between that and keeping everybody healthy throughout the duration of these playoffs. Because if we are leaning on only a couple of people and we think we're going to be able to call on those people later when the ones we're leaning on wear down, they're going to come in the game cold, not so fresh, and not so ready to give us what it is that they otherwise would give us if we just work them into the equation when we don't necessarily have to right now. So I hope everybody hears that, and hopefully the coach sees the wisdom in that and starts incorporating Bamba and Lonnie and some of these other guys, may even Max, into the situation, because we're better for it in the long run. So that's what I got to say, man. Depth is key. Effort is everything. And them 17 championships we have in the rafters right now are not going to save us. We need to go out there and get another one if we want the respect of those who actually deserve our respect. Not people like Dylan Brooks who were talking about 40 points, but people who were talking about 17, 18 championships. That's what it is that we're trying to count for. So go out there and get a victory, LA. This is our home court. Protect this house. Respect this house. And don't allow nobody to come in here jumping around, stomping around and all that. You know, there's too much pride here. This means too much to too many. So that's what I got to say, man. Go out there and get it. And I'll have, of course, a reaction to the game at the end and at halftime as well. So that's what I have. BDF 44. Thank you all for watching.